Welcome back. So now we have two amazing panel discussions coming up. And one, as I said, is devoted to what HR needs to start doing. And the other one is devoted to what HR needs to stop doing. So I'm very happy that I have the chance to welcome some amazing people coming here today to share their story. And I know we have a global visitors and visitors coming in from all over the world. So I don't know where you're at currently, but here in Belgrade, it's very cold. And all I'm able to do is reminisce about the Executive HR World Summit, which happened this summer on May in Luštica Bay in Montenegro, where everything actually happened. This was the place where we made the HR manifesto, which actually was a part of our community and also part of our facilitators, which are coming in for today's panel discussion. I'm very happy that I can welcome someone who actually motivated me to learn more about myself and about everything in the HR profession, and that's Petar Kosovac. Petra, I remember last year when we were at HR Week and I was introducing you and I didn't know anything about you, but I prepared a little brief introduction about what you're doing, and I was saying all about your career and what you were doing in the past. But now only thing that comes up to my mind is, what are you going to do from now on? What's your idea about revolutionizing and actually consulting in HR and everything that we're talking about today?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. I was expecting that you're going to talk about my modesty and stuff like that. Yes. So,
yeah, you know me. That's not my thing.
Yeah, I'm expecting, and like today it's a topic that it's quite tricky because we should start talking about what we should stop doing, and in order not to get into a preaching mode, I would love to also to show some understanding for the HR community for doing certain things, and also try to find out what are those limiting beliefs that are forcing us to go in certain directions. How can we challenge them? And I'm expecting much more experimentation in HR going forward. I heard, I think one of the previous ones, Tim Bryant, I think, was talking about experimentation in HR. I think that's very, very important going forward.
Amazing. So I'm very happy that besides you, we're being joined by some of the best consultants, coaches, and trainers we have here in the Balkan region. So I'm gonna be welcoming Marija Švigir and Mia Popić. Welcome, ladies. How are you? How's everything?
Hi. I'm very excited to be here. I have a feeling that we've done such a significant work regarding HR Manifesto, and this is just a very logical next step. So it's really great to be here.
Amazing. Marija, you're muted, so I'm just going to remind you to unmute the mic.
Sorry for that. I couldn't agree more. So happy to be here, and it's great opportunity to discuss not so easy topic to discuss about, and I totally agree with Petar how to discuss about it and not to preach the HR community. So I'm looking forward limiting beliefs and everything else, considering what HR should stop doing.
Okay, amazing. Thank you guys very much for being here. I'm gonna leave the virtual stage to Petar to moderate, and see you in approximately 35 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Masha. So let's get into the point. So we have limited time, as you know. We want to be as actionable as possible and cover some important topics. So let's start with Mia. So Mia, what is the one thing you see in your everyday practice that HR should stop doing?
Yeah, I was thinking, like you said, we don't want to sound like we are preaching. We don't want to sound judgy. One thing that I feel is extremely important, and I'm so very glad that I can see it in HR Manifesto, is that HR needs to start breaking stereotypes. And this is one thing that I feel is extremely important. We need to stop believing in those stereotypes and start being ambassadors of diversity. how I think about this whole topic. I know this may sound a bit harsh, but I will say it anyway. Very often, HR is perceived like this housewife in patriarchy, where she's there just to support and nurture her man who is taking care of the business and making important decisions. What I really feel we should start doing is to include more diversity and start with ourselves, meaning HR should stop believing that she is, because very often it's more about she, just this supportive function, invite more men into HR sector and pave the path toward top management functions. Okay, this is one thing that I feel is we need systematic approach to really tackle this problem, but we also need to start with ourselves and stop believing in this stereotype that HR is only for women and business is only for men.
Hearing that in mind, I'm glad that Peđa also joined us, so we can make some diversity here in this conversation. Hello.
Exactly. Hi, Peđa.
Hello. We are just warming up. We set some ground rules that we don't want to go into preaching, that we want to discuss also some limiting beliefs when we see some behavior that we should stop doing more as HR. And yes, so let's continue with a little bit more of ladies first while we are still in this mood. Marija, what is the one thing that you see most often that HR should stop doing?
Well, I couldn't agree more with Mia again. So Mia, thank you for introducing this diversity team. And I'm looking forward this gender balance in this panel. So I would like to hear both of you as well. Now what I'm thinking about is about creativity and innovation in HR. I mean, they're great, aren't they? But HR usually has a creative process, proactive approach to some processes and ideas. It has to be flexible, open-minded. Usually we say that HR should think out of the box, have some new, approaches, etc. But what I'm thinking about, and please stop me if you don't agree with me, is that HR should stop trying to innovate all the time. I mean, let's back to the basic. Okay. So as Mia mentioned, this family metaphor. Yeah. So back to the basic. What should or what does my business need is the main question. Not to be always and all the time innovative. What HR should ask, what problem are we trying to solve with this change? So when I'm thinking about that complexity doesn't make us smarter, valued, or more impactful. Do you agree with me?
Well, I would maybe challenge a little bit because in a sense that the main question about innovation is the question why. Like exactly what you said, it's innovation. Like, why are we doing this? What is the problem we're trying to solve? Once we set the problem right, then having innovation for the sake of innovation, doing brainstormings for the sake of it, yeah, I agree fully. Getting into that problem to be solved is something that we need even more often, I would argue. Yeah. Sorry.
Yes, I agree with that totally. So let's make it simply. Let's make it to the ground, and let's make it in order to get things delivered for the business, not for HR by itself. I mean, for itself. Okay, so that's my point about creativity in HR.
Thank you, Marija. I would ask Peđa to join us with what is, Peđa, one thing that you see most often that HR should stop doing?
Well, I would continue on the last thing that Marija said. Like there is sometimes, in my perception, of course, like I'm not HR, but there are lots of colleagues that we work with. There is lots of, if I can say, overthinking. Yeah. So maybe some, like it would be great if at least a test, like some faster actions, some, failures, some, showing more courage. And, there is, of course, we cannot say about typical profile of a HR person, but there is some things, sometimes that we can say that there is certain energy that is there, to put everything in place, to make other people, support other people, and sometimes, make them happy, in certain industries, very strange ideas are present these days. So maybe, at least to reduce the level of such an approach and making some courageous steps, trying, doing, failing, and getting into certain type of confrontation. Because if it is healthy confrontation, at the end we will learn what is the real need. I mean, if we just talk about, even the talking about needs doesn't really clarify the need. Because even if you ask me what do I want, I mean, I think that what I want is what I want, but in most of the cases I don't know what I want, and only when we have the experience I realize, oh, you see, this is actually not what I want. I want something else. So I would say that maybe reducing this being perfect approach and making everything clear, because making everything clear doesn't help a lot when even the person when you're working with, it's not clear what they want. So just in some smaller scale, create the experience.
So you mentioned, yes, being more courageous, jumping, testing, doing, failing. So based on your experience, what are the limiting beliefs that are preventing HR to go in that direction?
This is again, in certain industries, especially IT, I should help them. I should, sometimes we even get requests, just make her happy. This lady is very important to us, coach her. If she's not for coaching, it doesn't matter. Just make her happy. Should I buy her ice cream or should I take her for dinner? It's maybe better than spending. It doesn't matter. Do whatever you want. Just make her happy. Okay. So this type of things, having the taking on my back something that is not mine, and having in mind that with such an approach, other people will benefit, and not avoiding confrontation as basically a cure for pain. Sometimes it's just no, come on. How I cannot say no, and then this is I cannot say no. I can do. This is my role. I mean, in many cases it is, but not in all. And making this type of experiences will actually unlock certain potentials that we will then learn how to direct them better, and how then to create something that is meaningful for the other side as well.
Yes.
I have so many things to add here.
I just wanted to invite you to add some things here. So especially in talking about saying no. So what's preventing us to say no more often?
Huge topic.
Peđa, I love what you said, because it's very aligned with my experience working with people in HR. And there are so many things that prevent us from being more courageous in communication. Like you said, overthinking. I would add perfectionism and this imposter syndrome. I doubt myself even when there is evidence that I'm doing a great job. And just like you said, making others happy, my experience is that many people who enter the HR role are coming from the background, and I don't want to go into Freud and psychoanalyzing, but they are coming from maybe a family system background who really put them into this role of pleasing others. And then we forget that we are there also to please ourselves, to ask, am I happy? What's my why in this whole mission? So I'm thinking that one thing, or maybe there are more things that are preventing us to be more courageous in communication, is this overthinking, pleasing others, forgetting about our importance in this role, and making others happy, even when we don't think about how to make myself happy.
So Marija, what would you add to this? In a sense, also, what would be your direction that we stop saying yes to everything?
Well, it's a really important topic. just to stop saying, just to stop being afraid of saying no. For example, senior leaders, to senior leaders. In many organizations, we as a consultants hear, yeah, we do need, for example, feedback training, but we don't need our CEO to attend. Okay. So, I mean, why? Why not? Why CEO shouldn't be on that training? And they answer it, well, they don't feel that they need to train. And if they did, it would be some kind of admission that they have skills to work on. But what I think is that the main, I don't know, not the main, but the important thing for HR to say no, although they're senior managers. And what I think that based on this topic is that HR should stop underestimate HR role. I mean, HR role is strategic business function. Okay, everybody knows it. But what is happening in a real time, in everyday working in organization, is that HR underestimate herself, himself, but basically the role. Like as Mia mentioned, that HR has need to satisfy everybody, but that's not HR role. I mean, also it's not to be perfect, but it's to be strategic function considering the business model.
So yeah, if they're based on the beautiful research done by Richard Keegan and Lisa LaHoy on the immunity to change. So we know that what drives human behavior are the beliefs. So there are some beliefs that drives us, right? And in order to tackle that beliefs, it's usually some worry. So what worries HR? So we don't get more into experimentation. We don't say no more often. What is your opinion or your view on that?
This is such a great and tough question.
We're here for the tough times, not the nice times. So what do you think HR is worrying about?
I'm thinking about what you, Marija, said, and it makes sense that either I'm not innovating enough, that I'm not technically literate about new technologies and so on. And then we are stuck into being worried about whether I understand digitalizations, new frameworks, Scrum, and so on. And then while I worry about it, I forget about people. So I'm thinking we should really have this holistic approach. You can care about people and also care about innovations and technologies, and to keep these two things together in the same picture. To me, it seems like we are either very oriented toward people, or we are very oriented toward new technologies, and then we just forget about the purpose. And it comes from, as a result of worrying, do I have it all to really be innovative?
Okay, so it's also around the confidence, and can I cover both? So is there anyone that can cover both? I guess there are. So let's challenge a little bit those beliefs.
Because we are under pressure to be innovative. We really have to be up to date. But then sometimes we worry too much about it, and then we forget why we are here.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. What about Peđa? What do you see as those worries that are popping up quite often in HR?
Well, I would say that again, it's if I can step out a little bit from HR role, and then certain people who are coming to that role, and if we have in mind that majority of HR professionals are women, I would say that the in my perception again. Is that the question is, what does it mean to be a woman in the world that we live today?
Thank you so much for this.
But really, like we live in a world that is created by the rules of men, and I don't know. And like we try to. I mean, nobody says let's compete in this world, but implicitly you are competing, and I don't know many women who can really compete with me with my physical abilities in my age. And then there is no hormonal things. There are not so many other things, and then we are equal. We are not equal. I mean, that's it. Somebody is more. It has one role, and it has another role. And I think that both men or women today, should just go from this perspective. What does it mean to be a man or a woman? And like from my perspective, I mean, I'm asking myself as well as a man, And of course, I'm not a woman, and I read some books, but like there is a Carol S. person wrote a nice book, A Hero Within, and I'm more into this man thing. So how to live the certain archetypal roles, and my perception is that the role of warrior, a human, female warrior, is really women are not living it in a healthy way for women. But they're kind of trying to compete with the man, and it's really not healthy for society as a whole. And then we are all in this balance. So, like, I would go there. I would go in balancing. I mean, balancing maybe, or balancing those archetypal. I don't know how it says in English, roles, and going into direction of those healthy polarities, not going unhealthy one. So if we put an intention at one point, I will just say no because it's no. I will be more assertive. But we have assertive trainings of assertiveness for people who are not able to live a healthy pole of this archetype, and of course it doesn't work because I don't know how to energize that pole. So this is again my perspective, and then HR is just a segment of a business where women are dominate.
Yeah, I was recently reading something interesting on the lines of that. People thought that men are hunters and women were gatherers. Well, it's not true. Actually, women were exactly also hunters. So that's kind of interesting. So going back to this, you said also about assertiveness trainings. We had a lot of trainings, and what we usually see, Marija, is that the reason why people are not delegating, saying no, changing some behaviors are some beliefs. And I know I'm constantly getting back to those beliefs, and those drivers of those beliefs are usually some worry. So what do you see, Marija, as the limited beliefs, and how can we tackle them? Sorry for asking two questions.
Yeah. What I'm thinking about right now after what Mia and Peđa said is that HR is trying to fulfill all other kind of whatever comes to HR. And sometimes that HR believe that they should do it. That they should have open door policy all the time, every time, every day, etc. That they should be open for that they should whatever. And I think that that please you moment, please you driver for HR can be really useful, but in the other hand, who take care of HR? Okay. So if we are talking about what HR should stop doing, I can say stop not taking care of HR.
Okay.
And sometimes HR get defensive. Why? Because there is always that kind of question: is there function needed in this company? Do we need XY persons in people in HR, etc.? So, it's still like HR have to sell the role of HR in the organization, and sometimes I think that what HR believes also is that they should do it all by themselves. For example, fun at work activities. Team building activities. HR could and should include other function, other department to organize it. For example, what my main point here is that HR should be in a company because of the people, but also should take care of they selves.
Yes. So there are some good examples also of HR, just not to sound that we are like everything is wrong, etc. We see a lot of good movement. We see a lot of experimentation in a good way. We see a lot of HR directors challenging the status quo, pushing forward, right? So there are some good news. So in that sense, also, if I can chunk it down a little bit, so to go from these more broad topics to talk about some things that are more practical, let's put it like that. So we see that development plans in the companies are rather high level, fluffy. Yeah, you should get better in strategic thinking and things like that, right? It's very not smart goals and stuff like that. So if you think about HR making a development plan for itself, like what would be that smart goal that you would like to see from HR in their development? I'll give you a few seconds to think, if anybody wants to start up.
If I can just say, there is some ideas that I'm pushing with our clients. The key question is who is responsible? Who is responsible? Who is responsible for employees' development? And as long as the answer is not employees responsible, we are just in this fluffy, abstract world of whatever. So the responsibility for my development is mine, and this needs to be it needs to be clearly communicated. You cannot develop me if I don't want to be developed. And if you give me a set of competencies which has a clear behavioral indicators, and then we say that in the next year, 1 year, there is a, I don't know, 3-4 key competencies, 2 supportive competencies with clear behavioral indicators, and each person gets the privezak. I don't know how you can say it in English. How you call it in English? This
attachment.
Yeah, these things for keys with the cards.
Yeah.
With the competencies, behavioral indicators. This is yours. Now go to every training, go where but your goal is to pull out, to take from this training everything that is related to these things that are yours. Then the engagement of people will be much higher if there is a responsibility, taking the responsibility for the development, or at least communicating, because like HR is not responsible for someone else's responsibility, but in terms of insisting on that, then through time we will have a better, a bigger probability that people who are part of development programs will start to act differently, because developments are there for people to improve their actions and their behaviors, and then through time, hopefully achieving their KPIs. So really, like this simple things can really improve a lot the effect of development trainings or activities. But the key thing is going to the question of the responsibility.
I love what you said, Peđa. I love what you said, and I can add to it that one smart goal for each HR would be to draw the circle of influence in each project they do, meaning that I have to understand where is my responsibility, where you continue, and I just did my best, because that way we will overcome that pleasing moment we mentioned earlier. And that way HR will really learn how to hold people accountable. So for every project that you have during the next year, for example, draw yourself a circle of influence. Where is your influence and where it stops? That way you will really know what to do.
Marija, what would you add?
I also like very much what Mia and Peđa said, and HR isn't responsible for everything. I mean, HR is responsible to, in a way, to entertain or to establish or to implement or to support development, but not every person is responsible for its own development program and development plan. And what I'm thinking about right now is how the authenticity of each employee is important. And then back to HR. So we could not make, generic development plan for HR. It really depends of the person. So if you're talking about the SMART goals for HR, I think it's really individual. So there is no one size fits all.
Okay. And one thing before we get some questions from the audience. So what I see from time to time is that there is a new thing on the block, and then everybody talks about it for a year, and then there is a new thing, and there was no follow-up. Like, we heard a lot about growth mindset, then some companies did a really good job with that. Some companies just, there is a growth mindset, and then that's it. Strength-based approach. We don't want to develop weaknesses. We want to focus more on the strengths. If person is focusing on their strengths, they could be 6 times more engaged. We know this all from Gallup research and so on. Yeah, it's there for a few months, a year, and then let's go back to the old ways or something. So what should we stop doing in order to get things implemented in the long run, let's say, and really get them on board? What do you think?
I don't know if I should say what I really think.
Yeah, okay, we have a disagreement on the strength-based approach, maybe, or something.
No. I really agree with that. But like, maybe we will. I will shoot in our leg as a consultants. I mean, like, but I need to say, I mean, there is no new trainings. Come on, like, why we have a new trainings if we didn't implement the old ones? Very simple. It's way more put bigger focus on implementation of what the cognitive information that people have, than on giving them more cognitive information, because just they get frustrated because now we know all these things and basically nothing is new. So more maybe team coaching, more this type of activities that are about coaching and integration than new models or
Yes, and talking about, it's the hot topic in L&D, it's the learning transfer. We know if you do a training, you'll forget 75% of it in 5 days, unless you do something. So that implementation is one of the keys to go forward, as mentioned. Okay, we have some questions from the audience. If you could give a psychological profile of a successful HR, what would that be like? Yeah.
Well, here I will use this wording taken from Brené Brown. She's a researcher, and she is really great in helping people to develop more daring leadership. What I think makes a successful HR is someone who is fierce and kind, meaning that this person can really integrate these two polarities, being very kind and warm, really oriented toward people, but also very fierce and courageous to tackle difficult topics, difficult conversations, being assertive, and of course, always having that business mindset. So yeah, fierce and kind, 2 words that really resonate great with me. In any area being successful, I think we need that, and in HR specifically.
So talking about that balance of having a heart on the sleeve on one side, on the other side, being able to make tough decisions,
exactly,
getting into the tasks to be done. Yes. I see Marsha's popping up. Marsha, do you want to surprise us with some questions, or we should?
Yeah, I'm here. I have a few questions that I want to share with you guys, but there's a first one which I think goes accordingly with everything that you guys have been saying about saying no and being a people pleaser. So a person asked, can an HR be good at his or her job without actually being a people person?
Great.
Is that possible?
Like, the question is what people person means, because we are all people person, and so I don't know anyone who is not people person. So what does it mean, people person?
I'm guessing it's more like people that are, correct me, Marshall, it's more like people that are very task oriented and the numbers, and not caring about people aspects and empathy. I'm guessing it's more in that direction.
Yeah.
But it depends what is the role, what job description, because in many cases, like creating a development plan is about creating the plan, and or defining it not based on certain needs, not just that you got from each individual talking to each of them, but talking to their managers, getting inputs, and in many cases, implementations of that plans and follow-ups on that plans is not about people at all. So the failures are happening not because there is not enough people-oriented energy, but because there is not enough process-oriented energy, and this energy of confrontation with something that we are doing something new, but we didn't actually implemented what is already there. So for me, I mean, it's okay to be to a certain extent people-oriented, but not to be too much people-oriented.
Yeah.
I agree also, because it's not black and white. For example, HR understands people analytic, make decisions based on data, so it's dealing with numbers, etc. But on the other hand, I will pop up with the word human capital. Can we treat people like they are numbers? Okay, so I think everything is about the balance.
I would add here that probably one must have is a certain level of empathy. And this is the thing which I really think shouldn't be excluded. Like maybe just cognitive empathy. You don't have to be this emotional warm person. But when I say cognitive empathy, just this capacity to really understand the view of others and to understand that your truth is not the only one. There are many perspectives. And this, I would say, is a must-have. You don't necessarily have to be like the warmest person. You can be very data, task-oriented and be a great HR, but some certain of empathy, I would say it's necessary.
Yeah, if I can just say, I saw both cases doing well, very people-oriented that learn how to get more into the task, and also very much task-oriented people in numbers, developing that part, as you mentioned, cognitive empathy, understanding, showing understanding for different point of views. And it's all about that growth mindset, open mindset to learn, because you can develop those aspects if you want to.
Absolutely. And thank you, guys. So I have another question, which I think would be the perfect way to wrap up the discussion and everything that you guys shared today. And that's, what did you stop doing or maybe changed?
Well, we personally,
Yeah.
I love this question. I stopped being worried about technical things, because I understood that working with IT, it's really not fair, because mainly I work with IT. It's not really fair to be afraid of digitalization, technical things, and so on. So I stopped being worried about it, and I started being technically more literate.
Bravo. Kudos to you. Petre, Peđa,
Yeah,
Marija.
I can really say that I stopped saying yes to all the challenging and funny activities that I love to do, because I'm overwhelming my calendar. And I hopefully stopped working in January. That's my thing that I'm stopped doing.
Bravo.
Yeah, I will stop with individual coaching and mentoring. It's enough.
But Peđa, can you please fit me in sometimes?
Next year, I need to stop. I mean, I need to have a break. Too much. It was a long period of lots of coaching and mentoring, and I need to have to stop so that I can get inspiration again.
Amazing. Thank you. Marija?
I stopped fooling my calendar. So I have so many free time, and what I'm start doing is to being a real HR to my people in organization.
Amazing. Perfect. Well, thank you guys for sharing everything and being so devoted to actually making HR a better place and a better department with their organizations. All I gotta say is thank you again for such positive energy and such a positive outlook on everything that awaits us in the next year. And I gotta remind everyone that from the 19th to the 21st of May, we're gonna be seeing each other in Istra in Croatia, where we're gonna be discussing more about what HRs need to stop doing and start doing.
And
Thanks
continue,
again.
please, and continue.
And moving
Yeah.
forward. Thank you.
Bye.
See you.
Bye. Have a nice